Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. And I think we've got a fine shop talk lined up for you. I've even spared no expense to put together a very high-end demo. It's even hard for me to say that without laughing. I hope that the technical issues are behind us, but if you are seeing problems, let me know. One of the comments on the test last night was that the audio was low. The audio sound was low, but that was only on some people. When I watched the video afterward, the volume sounded fine to me. But there was a lot of people saying it was very low. So if you're experiencing that today, please let me know and tell me what kind of machine you're listening to this on, and maybe we'll see a trend and maybe there's something I can do to tweak that down the road. We've got a whole lot to get through here today, but I just wanted to let you know that at the end, if all works out well, we will take questions and answers. And if you have a question, be sure to start the question with a question mark. That way I can see it. Otherwise, it's really hard for me I'm a slow reader and it's really hard for me to read everything. So if you put a question mark at the beginning, I can tell it's a question and I'll read your question. So, there you go. I'm just looking real quick to see if there's any comments yet about the problems. Looking and sounding great. Okay, good. Well, that's awesome. I'll take that. On a different news front, got my second Moderna shot yesterday. It's kind of sore today. You know, neither shot hurt. The second shot, I didn't even feel. I just went in and it was over with in a second. I mean, like it was just over like that. It didn't even feel it. And, they say you get sick from the second shot. Well, so far I feel okay. It's hard to tell what's normal for me. But so far I feel okay. I do have a sore shoulder, though, where that shot went in. But anyway, I'm doing okay as far as I can tell. Let's see here. I've got a whole list of things. I'm looking at my list to see what I want to cover next. All right, so let's talk about real quick. I've just got a couple of gifts here I want to get through real quick, and then we'll move right into the content. First thing here is a new box cutter. This came from Mr. or rather, I don't know if it's Mr. or Mrs. It's initials. St. Forgione. Forgione, and it's from Jacksonville, Oregon. So thank you very, very much for this. Very nice. It's a different style cutter that I haven't seen before. They call it a carpet knife on the box here. I can't even think of the word. It's pitiful. And he sent along a whole bunch of extra blades, and he also sent along some other blades, these hooked blades, and the hooked blades, if I can get them out here without cutting my hand off, these hooked blades, I've used these for cutting shingles in the past, roofing shingles, and I just did that just the other day. I was cutting shingles, so I wished I'd have had this then. But anyway, it looks like a really nice knife and very well made. It looks like it'll really hold up well. It's got a different kind of a blade in it, but that's okay. That ought to work really well. And like I said, a whole bunch more there in supply. So thank you very, very much there to the folks up there in Jacksonville, Oregon. The Forgione, I believe, is the way maybe you say that. I'm not sure about pronouncing that. I hope I didn't butcher it too bad. But thank you very much. We'll put that to good use, I guarantee you. The other gift I wanted to show you, we had a visitor all this week. Actually, he just left yesterday. He was here Monday through yesterday. And his name is Eddie Holiday, and Eddie brought us a whole bunch of instruments, stayed at the rental retreat, and you're going to want to see his videos down the road because one of his, he's kind of surprised me out of the blue. He says, I want you to do XYZ to this particular instrument, and I went, oh my gosh, really? And I said, you realize how long that's going to take, right? And he goes, that's okay. I don't care. I want you to do it. So I don't want to spoil the surprise. I'll wait till those videos come out, but you'll be seeing it down the road. It'll be kind of I think 4 instruments for sure. Caleb worked on most of the other ones. I worked on the big project, if you will, and Caleb helped me on that too, by the way. But anyway, he brought along a whole bunch of gifts. I'm not going to get into those either. Those will be shown in his video down the road. But I do want to show you this one gift. And that is a giant box of antler. Oh my gosh. You talking about tickled to get that. We were completely out again. So it's awesome to have that. When I say out, I mean out of the bases. We always have the tips and ends and things. And the tips can be used for certain things like nuts and things. So that's great. But it was nice to get a whole new supply so we have plenty of bases to make the mandolin antler saddles out of. So thank you so much, Eddie. I appreciate it. Eddie was a real nice fella and a real good picker. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and feature just one little segment of Eddie and myself playing here in a little bit. And he is playing the big project guitar, but I'm not going to tell you what the project was even in the video. You'll just see him playing it. So you'll, I guess, know at least that it was successful. Okay, we're going to get right into the meat of this. And as I've said a couple times, this is going to be about truss rods, two-way truss rods, one-way truss rods, all the different kinds of truss rods. And it's going to be about relief as well. And I put together a demonstration. Like I said, I spared no expense on this. So you should be sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for this. I'm just checking the comments to make sure that I'm not talking to myself here, making sure there's still people out there and that we're still doing okay. Great shirt. Yes. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that because I do. This, by the way, ties into the subject, believe it or not. I don't want to offend anyone. I'm just making fun of the whole situation. You understand. I'm not trying to sound smart alecky or anything. But I thought the shirt does kind of apply, really. I don't have the time or the crayons to explain this to you. My daughter takes pride in finding these kinds of shirts, so that's where they come from. This was an early Father's Day gift because she's in Ohio and she was here visiting this past weekend. And I'm going to get to one of the comments from her son, who is my grandson, of course. And I think you'll get a kick out of that comment a little bit later. I'll tell you about that. But right now, we're going to get into the truss rods. And I think I'll just start by showing you a bunch of different truss rods here. This is just a slew of truss rods I just happen to have laying around. This one is a truss rod that I think you might have seen in the last video. This came out of a, well, it starts with a G. It's a very popular mandolin. The company, I mean, starts with a G. And anyway, it was an F-style mandolin. And this the truss rod got tightened up so much that this actually got pulled through the neck and just basically, it didn't destroy the neck. It should have. It didn't. It just kind of cut a channel through the neck. But I had to repair all that. And by the way, that's another thing I'm going to talk about is current and future projects. And I'll be talking about that project a little bit more. This is just a straight piece of steel that I make truss rods out of. This is a 3/16" piece of steel, cold rolled steel. And you can see how you can flex that there. And anyway, that's what I make my truss rods out of. This is a non-adjustable beam type truss rod. I don't know what kind of steel this is. This might be titanium for all I know. But it's a very strong, rigid steel that doesn't bend much. Now, there ought to be a clue. This is a truss rod, non-adjustable. It doesn't bend, okay? That's a clue. Here's another one of those truss rods. This one is, I think, carbon fiber. And it also doesn't bend, if you see what I'm saying, you know. That's another clue. It doesn't bend. This is just another example of another truss rod, and this one here is perfectly straight, which makes no sense at all, because it is adjustable. If it was not adjustable, then straight's fine. But anyway, this is an anchor point where you would anchor it in the wood. Okay, that's all right. Now here's the two-way adjustable truss rods. Now there's this one's for a guitar and this one's for a mandolin. It's very short. Here is, should I get into that right now or should I talk about some other things first? Let me back up before I actually show you the problem with this. Here's the issue with truss rods. I've actually been quoted on my videos as saying, I wish instruments didn't have truss rods. And I mean it more as from a user perspective. I'm not saying they're never needed. I'm just saying it's way overblown on what they can do. And, you know, everybody thinks there's like some kind of magic to these things. You see there, some of those don't even adjust at all. So all they do is just sit there and basically keep your neck straight. That's it. That's all they do. They just sit there and keep your neck straight. They don't change the neck angle. The fact that you've got the ones that are non-adjustable ought to tell you there's no magic to them at all. Zero. Read the shirt. Again, I'm just poking fun, guys. Don't get upset or nothing. All right, so my point is that truss rods, there's no magic to them. Zero, none, not at all. They don't do what people think they do. All they do. Now, like, if you don't hear anything else I say, hear this one thing. The only thing a truss rod does is pull underbow, or what you want to call relief, out of the neck. That's all they do. They just do that. That's it. That's all they do. And that's only on the adjustable ones. Okay? Now, let's give you before we go into the two-way thing, because that's going to be my rant. Like this isn't a rant already. I want to go to my high dollar demonstration here. Okay, first of all, let's call this a very straight neck. Okay, this is your fretboard. Actually, this is your bridge right here. This piece right here is your bridge. And that's what that black little thing represents. That's your bridge. This is where the sound hole is. This little mark is about where the neck attaches to the body. And so this is your neck here, okay? So anywhere along here you touch this, you can see it's a straight line from here to here. And there's no problem. I mean, you can play that and it's a note, okay? You see my point? You can touch it anywhere and it's not a problem. It's a straight line from here to here. You can touch it anywhere, okay? So we will assume that this one either has a non-adjustable truss rod or at least the truss rod is adjusted appropriately. Okay? So this one is fine. There's no problem with that one. Okay, here's the exact same demo. This one, of course, I have cut a huge underbow or relief in the neck. Same scenario. This is where your bridge is. This is the sound hole. This right here where it starts down is basically where the neck attaches to the body, right here. And there's often a hump there, as you know. It's very common. And the reason, just so I can explain that too, the reason for that is, and I'm exaggerating, your neck is always at a slight angle down, or it should be. It's not always, but it should be. So, you know, and because of that, as you get up to that flat top, it has to bend right there. So there has to be a hump there. Now, you know, on some guitars, it's almost perfectly flat. Other guitars, it's more pronounced. But my point is, there is kind of a place here where there is kind of a hump. Now, here's the relief. And just for the sake of understanding, relief should be in the neighborhood of either perfectly flat, which would be 0, up to about 12 thousandths of an inch. Now, my good buddy, old Randy Schardiger, he likes to see them in the 10 or 12 thousandths range, I believe, and maybe a little less on some instruments. But anyway, he understands that. I understand that. 10 to 12 thousandths is about right. Now, 10 to 12 thousandths is about 3 sheets of paper or 3 human hairs stacked on top of each other, something like that. I mean, it's not much, okay? This, of course, would be what you would call underbow. This is way too much relief, but let's just consider it that it is relief. And you can see my point that you don't want too much relief. In other words, if you get beyond 12 thousandths, you're going to have this situation. So now, when I note this, now keep in mind, this is the fretboard area. If I note it here, it touches right here, right? If I note it here, it touches right here. If I note it here, it touches right here. That's because there's too much relief or too much underbow. That's the only thing a truss rod is good for in this whole world. It's not good for anything else other than to pull this up. That's why when you put a truss rod in, you should put it in with a slight underbow, and then when you tighten it, it straightens out and it lifts that center. That's all a truss rod does. Now that is what I call a high-end demonstration. 2 pieces of scrap wood with a piece of string. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm going to look at the comments real quick just to see if I've confused anybody or said something wrong. Sarcasm intended. Let's see. 1 string solid body. Yes, that's what this is. Okay. So I hope you get my point about relief especially, and what a truss rod is there for. That's all a truss rod is there for. It isn't there for anything else. People think that it changes the neck angle, it changes the action, like they can adjust the height of their strings. They think they can do everything with this. You can't do any of that. All you can do is affect your action by changing this, and then you've affected your action, especially right there if you can pull this bow out of here. You're just affecting your action. That's really all it amounts to. Now, in some really, really, really extreme cases, I have actually seen it slightly change the neck angle. But it's an extreme example that I don't even want to get into because it's so rare that most of you will never see it. So it's pretty darn rare when the truss rod can affect the angle of your neck. Okay. So let's just assume that that's all it does is do that. So what's my problem with a 2-way truss rod? Well, here's my problem, and here's my rant. The single one thing on instruments that is totally always screwed up is the truss rod. Now, let's face it, when I was a kid and I got my first good guitar, first thing I had to do was get in there and start monkeying with that truss rod. I figured it was there for some reason and I needed to turn it, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue. And to this day, I don't know why I had to get in there and do that. It's just one of those things. And I think most people are like that. They think, I'm playing this, it's hurting my fingers. If I turn this, it might help, that kind of thing. And that's kind of the general knowledge for a lot of people with truss rods. Truss rods get over-tightened, they get under-tightened, but they are rarely ever tightened to the proper amount. So that's my biggest beef with truss rods. That's with all truss rods, and that's dang near every instrument that comes in the shop, Now, don't get me wrong. I would say the majority of people don't mess with the truss rod much and don't have a problem, but the other side of that is that there's a lot of truss rod problems. Okay, having said that, now you throw a 2-way truss rod into the mix. Oh my gosh! First of all, a 2-way truss rod is fixing a problem we don't even have. I mean, if you pick 1,000,000 instruments, one of those instruments might need a 2-way truss rod. And I'm not kidding. I mean, it's so rare that you would ever need a 2-way truss rod. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so what does a 2-way truss rod do? Well, it on the one hand, it does this exact same thing. It'll lift this middle up. What does it do on the other hand? It pushes the middle back down. When do you ever see an instrument that needs the middle pushed down? It's almost never. The only time you might see it is if you built the instrument wrong, and you built it with a big arch in the neck. Okay, well, in a case like that, you just screwed up. It doesn't need a two-way truss rod. You just need to fix it and build it right. Okay, so here's my real problem with a two-way truss rod. If you righty-tighty, so that means from the end you're adjusting it, you turn it to the right, which would be clockwise. It starts to tighten up, and you can feel it tightening up. That's going to lift the middle of this up, okay? And honestly, I can't remember which way this goes, which way it even works, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it goes like this. But anyway, it's going to lift the middle up. That's righty-tighty. Okay, when you turn it back here, there is what you call your, right there, see, you can see it moves back and forth. That is, I just talked about this on the last shop talk. I know the name of that, backlash. I couldn't think of the word, backlash. So that is your backlash. That's between tight going right and loose going left, except that these don't go loose. That's what's different about this. When you turn it this way, it actually forces overbow into the neck. Now, you could say, well, who cares? You just turn it to the right direction and you're good. Here's the problem with that. I'm not lying to you, and I wouldn't even tell you this if it wasn't true. 8 out of 10 of them that come in with two-way truss rods are turned lefty-loosey, and they're turned backwards. And the people are saying, this thing's buzzing all over the place. And I mean, it's got a hump in the neck like this, and the strings are hitting the frets because the truss rod has been turned the wrong direction. That's why two-way truss rods should be outlawed. First of all, they're fixing a problem we don't even have, because the string tension itself always pulls an underbow into a neck. Or even if you have a slide overbow, when you finally get it up to tension, it'll flatten out. We don't even need a two-way truss rod, period, zero. We don't need it. It should be outlawed. And because 8 out of 10 of them are adjusted backwards when they come in the shop. And I'm not exaggerating on that. I mean, I'm not lying to you. You would not believe how many two-way truss rods are turned the wrong way. It's second nature to me. I kind of overblow that and think that should just be simple. I take it for granted because since I was a little tiny kid, I've been working on equipment and machinery. So I mean, righty-tighty is just second nature to me. It's like breathing. I don't even have to think about it. I can reach under something, over something, around something, and I always know which way to turn it because I've been doing this my whole life. I realize that's not the case for most other folks, but that's the point of why I say we don't ever need a two-way truss rod. If you're building an instrument from scratch, don't spend your money on a two-way truss rod. You don't need it. It's just not necessary. I think I just ran out of steam. Now that I've made everybody mad, let me see what your comments are at this point. In God we trust for relief. That's funny. What do you charge to do a full setup on a Martin? I charge blood. No, it just depends on the time. I bill by the hour, and so most setups are 2 to 3 hours, and I charge $100 an hour. So there you go. Let's see. I'm just reading the comments. Sri Lanka. Yeah, never touch the truss rod. You're right. You got good advice. I'm not sure what that last comment is about straightening the neck with the truss rod. But basically, that's what a truss rod is for, is to just straighten it that way. That's the only way it straightens it. It doesn't straighten it this way. It only straightens it this way, if you understand my point. It doesn't do anything sideways. It doesn't do anything this way. All it does is just do that. That's all it does. And the fact that you have the ones that are totally non-adjustable ought to give you that as a clue that that's all truss rods do. They just keep a neck straight. That's all they do. This guy says, best episode. Well, thank you, Ken G. Love the t-shirt, Jerry. Good morning. Two-way truss rods. Okay, one way too many. Yeah, exactly. That's my opinion. Everybody has an opinion. I know Randy, I shouldn't say I think that I know he likes them. I know he has used them, and I think he's even installed them. I'm not really sure. But the two-way truss rod, for me personally, it just is a total wasted effort. Nobody needs one, in my opinion. In my opinion, you just don't need it. If you need one, you screwed up on the front end, and that's why you need one. You shouldn't have built it that way if you need one. Okay, so there you go. All right, I think I'm done with that subject. I beat it to death. Okay, current and future video projects and things that we're working on here in the shop. We really are just swamped, overloaded with instruments. I'm not lying. I bet there's at least 20 instruments in this shop right now. And most of them I haven't even looked at yet. And I'm working presently, on 3 or 4 at the moment. We've got lots of huge projects, and I thought I'd just briefly mention a couple of them. One of the videos you're going to start seeing real soon, I call it the Massachusetts mandolin. I imagine the owner of that mandolin is probably disappointed because I never did put the video out on that mandolin that I built and took it shipped it to Massachusetts. It was a great little mandolin, just a great mandolin. I haven't heard from that customer, so I hope he enjoys it and hope he likes it. But though that video series will start up here soon, but it's an old video, so I just wanted to let you know that this is not a current project that I'm working on. I built this a year or two ago, actually. So, but we just never did get the video out on it. So Melissa's working on that, and you'll start to see videos on the Massachusetts mandolin. Really cool mandolin, I thought. I've already mentioned to you about the truss rod that got pulled through the G mandolin. You'll see the kind of mandolin it is in the actual video. But anyway, that one there, it had been in 3 different shops, and the customer said he basically just begged and pleaded with me to send it to me because he says, I know you'll fix it right. He says, I've had it in 3 shops, and it just comes out like just as bad or worse each time. Well, when I got the mandolin in, I looked down at it and I went, oh my gosh. I mean, when you look down the neck, instantly you know it ain't going to play. I mean, it had a huge underbow in it. I mean, like, we were talking 10 and 12 thousandths. This thing had a 40 thousandths underbow in it on a mandolin that's short of a neck, 40 thousandths underbow. It ain't gonna play. It's got this problem right here. See, you couldn't make that play. I mean, you just can't make it play. Not with any decent action, anyway. I mean, if you raise the string up high, at the bridge, really high, you could get it to play, but then you couldn't play it. Not only did it have that kind of a problem, and the truss rod being pulled through the neck, and on top of all of that, the neck was twisted like you wouldn't believe. So wait till you see that one. That was a big job, and I've almost got it finished. But that video will be coming out before too long. You'll like that one a lot. I also did a video or a repair on what I'm going to call Regal Rec 2. It was another Regal guitar, and I basically had to pretty much just rebuild it. It needed it top to bottom pretty much, and you'll enjoy that one too. And I think you'll enjoy seeing how I was able to straighten out the top. The top was horrible on this thing. I mean, really bad. Like, you know how the bridge lifts in the back, and you know how sometimes it pushes the sound hole down. Well, this definitely had the sound hole pushed down, and in addition to that, the neck angle was so far out of whack that I don't know, there was just a huge hump in the top going up to the fingerboard. It was just distorted. So anyway, I was able to fix all of that, and it really turned out to be a very nice guitar. And then finally, the last project I want to tell you about that you'll see, you do realize that I kind of feel like the politician right now. If you know, sorry to digress, but I just thought I'd mention this to you. I kind of feel like the politician who is sitting on the edge of the bed telling you how good it's going to be when you get this. Anyway, Caleb did an old Martin guitar, really nice old Martin guitar, small one, and the top was absolutely destroyed on this thing. I mean destroyed. And when I say destroyed, that means it's not fixable. And so we had to build a whole new top. Caleb did that. He built a whole new top for this thing and inlay the, binding, everything. So it's a neat project. You're going to like to see that one as well. Okay, that takes me through my projects. Keep in mind, start thinking about your questions, and again, it's going to be a little while yet before I get to that. So don't put them in there now because they'll get lost going up the trail, and you may have to put them in again. Anyway, I wanted to give you a little more status on Caleb and Melissa. Melissa's been incredibly busy. She's been really out of the office as much as she's been in the office, and she's been going to meetings and things. She's setting up that campground and her canoe rental deal, and working on the place and going to meetings. And it seems like she just goes to meetings all the time, meeting with the road people and county and all that stuff. So she's not been here a lot, so the videos are probably a little bit lagging, and but she's working in here today. As a matter of fact, she came in early. She came in at 7 this morning, and she's in there working presently, working on some videos. So hopefully you'll see some tonight, and maybe another one this weekend. You just never know. She's going to be around for a while, but based on how busy she is, I have a feeling she will be pulled away before too long, and maybe just be working part-time at that point, which technically she only works part-time anyway. But she was working more hours than she is now. Caleb, on the other hand, he's running into reality, I guess, trying to get his new shop built and all that kind of thing, and running into some pretty big roadblocks. And so he's going to be around a while yet. I imagine at least 4 or 5 months, and probably longer. So Caleb's not going anywhere real soon, but he will be eventually leaving the nest, just so you know. He's doing really good. He's been a big help to me, especially lately, on a lot of different projects. So I appreciate his help. Okay, I told you my little grandson was here this past weekend, Trinian. Him and his brother, they are, in terms of my 8 grandchildren, they're number 7 and number 8. So they're the last 2. Well, number 7 is Trinian, and Trinian is the one that's just like me. I mean, he's got my same taste buds. He's got my color blindness. He's just like me, really. He even acts like me. And he's a little smart aleck is what he is. So I was giving him the Claire, you remember the Glary guitar I reviewed? The one they sent me was a pretty decent little guitar. Sounds pretty good, even looks pretty good. The only negative on that particular Glary guitar was the huge neck. I mean, it's just huge. And the guitar's just too big for a 7-year-old. It really is. But I thought, I'll just give it to him and he can play with it. He just turned 7. He can play with it and have fun with it and tear it up. It doesn't matter. So while I was showing him the guitar, I was trying to play a couple little things on it just so he'd be impressed, you know. And of course, I make my usual mistakes, and I stop. I said, I screwed that up. Let me do it again. So I started playing again, and I made another mistake. And then I think I even made another mistake, and he just stops me and he says, Grandpa, it's okay. You're just buffering. These new high-tech kids, you know. You're just buffering. If you don't know what that means, it's just like when you're trying to use your computer and the circle is going around and nothing is happening. That's buffering. So I thought that was pretty funny. I hope you like that comment. I may need to get a t-shirt that says, no, that wasn't a mistake. I was just buffering. Little smart aleck. I don't know where he gets that from. The rental retreat, as I mentioned to you, Eddie just stayed there this whole week, and he just left last evening. And it's really nice. You'll see Eddie's comments on that down the road, and I think you'll enjoy it if you ever come here. Eddie says, that's not like a rental place. He said, that's a whole house. And it is. I mean, it's a full house. You know, it's got an upstairs, downstairs. There's, you know, there's 3 bathrooms, I guess, and then there's, you know, washer dryer, and there's a game room. So it's a pretty decent place. You got 2 full bedrooms, and you know, living room, kitchen, the whole bit. So anyway, you might want to book that out before too long, because the bookings are filling up quickly. And as a matter of fact, we got somebody coming this Monday already and bringing instruments. So they're gonna. And by the way, you know, I hate to say this in one way, and in another way, it's just a fact, and that is that's the way. If you want to jump ahead in line, that's the way to do it. If you want to pay the extra for me to work on your instrument, which is, you know, my normal rate's $100 an hour. If you want to pay the $125 an hour and stay it there while your instrument gets fixed, that's the way you can jump ahead in line. Because I do call that a priority, and I do work on those while you're here. So that's the one way you can jump ahead of other folks in line. So anyway, I just wanted to, you know, it's just the truth. I just wanted to let you know that. Okay, and then my t-shirts for sale. Now, I don't have this t-shirt for sale, but my general t-shirts for sale are on my website, rosastringworks.com, under the for sale page, so you can buy t-shirts there. The last thing I want to talk about this morning before we go into the question and answers is Mountain View, Arkansas. We go down there every year, at least once a year, and I often go back in the fall again. But we're going down in June, June 10th through the 13th. And if you want to know what's going on, it's really nothing going on. We're just going down there that time. There's quite a few of us from the Rolla area. We just go down there as a group, and we jam under the gazebos. We jam on the street corners and different places, sometimes on the front porches of the bed and breakfasts. We're jamming. But generally, you can see us if you walk around there somewhere near the Courthouse Square. You'll see us there somewhere, and you're welcome to join in and jam with us. And we go out to dinner on Thursday evening, which would be, let's see, the 10th is Wednesday, so the 11th, I guess it would be the June 11th. We'll probably go out to, or maybe it is the 10th. One of those 2 nights, it'll either be Wednesday or Thursday, we'll go to the Catfish place. So if you're down there then, you could go to dinner with us at JoJo's Catfish. Let me look here and see what the comments are coming up and see if anybody's posted any questions. I saw some much earlier. Dennis says, I charge $50 an hour and my repairs look like crap. Anyway. That's funny. Looking here, that would be a t-shirt quote. That would be a great t-shirt quote. Yes. That's not, that wasn't a mistake. I was just buffering. Okay, well, I did see comments earlier. Let me see if I can, some questions earlier. Let me see if I can find those up here. Scroll back up and see if I can find them. Again, put a question mark at the beginning. Aren't the nuts welded onto two-way truss rods? No, that's not true. Well, I mean, it depends on what you're talking about. At this end, they are. So it's welded at this end. But this end here is adjustable. It's hard to, I can't hold it. I need a pliers or something to hold it to turn it. But like I said, righty-tighty. And righty is always from the end. So basically, it's clockwise is tight, anti-clockwise for my millimeter friends in millimeter land. Anti-clockwise would be loosening it, which would actually, put an overbow a bigger underbow in your neck. In other words, it would pull an overbow out, which you don't need. Nobody has an overbow. I mean, it's just not a problem we need to fix. So anyway, let me see if I can see any other questions here. What about the 12 string? The 12 string is hanging on the wall there, and the truth is that customer hasn't contacted us in so long, and I've gotten pulled with these other projects that it's, I haven't got it all the way sanded. It just needs to be sanded again and more finish and sanded and more finish, and it's just, I can't even tell you how many times I've done that. It is just fighting me every step of the way. But I wanted to have a really good finish, so that's why I'm working on it. But like I said, we've lost track of that particular customer, so I'm not in too big a hurry to finish it. Do we sell our t-shirts in Europe? Yeah, we'll send them anywhere. Now, we have a price on the website that we try to send them at, but honestly, if we're sending them someplace and we find out that the shipping is just going to be like double what we say, we're going to have to increase the shipping price. So we will ship them to you basically at our cost. If you're willing to pay that, we'll ship them pretty much anywhere. Try to put your question marks at the beginning of your question, please, because it's really hard for me to find them. How do I address changing tune with changes in humidity? Well, I don't know that you can. Instruments draw humidity in a lot, and that's what makes your instruments go sharp. My instruments often go sharp, often. I assume that's because I'm using very dry wood, and they suck up humidity, and that makes them expand and tightens up the strings. My instruments often go sharp. As a matter of fact, almost every time I take my mandolin out of the case, I have to tune it down. That's the truth. So I don't know how to help you with that other than it's just kind of a fact of nature. Can I bring my dog? No, some of you are going to hate me for this, but I do not allow pets at the rental retreat. Sorry. I'm not making exceptions for any kind of dogs. I don't care if they're service dogs or anything. I'm sorry. And the reason is, and I'm sorry, some of you are going to hate me for this, but it's just a fact. It's the old, you give an inch and they take a mile. And that's just the way it is. Everybody's dog is perfect. Everybody's dog is totally housebroke. Everybody's dog doesn't chew. Everybody's dog doesn't mess on the carpets, etc. and so forth and so forth. Until they do. And I'm just not going to put up with that. Sorry. No pets in the rental retreat. And I know that's going to rule out a ton of people because everybody has pets these days. I understand that. We have pets here on the farm. We've got 2 or 3 farm dogs that run around all the time, and they're great dogs. They're wonderful dogs. They will lick you to death when you come here. But I don't let them in my house. And it's just, I'm sorry, it's just the way I was raised, and I don't want pets in the rental retreat. So I apologize to those of you who are offended. I don't mean to offend you. That's just the way it is. And I don't care if it's a service dog or what it is. I'm saying no pets in the rental retreat. That also means that when you get there, it's going to be fresh and clean, okay? So you can be assured of that. Do your mandolin saddles come with string notches? Yeah, they can come either way, and you can order them either way on the website. Do you have flat and radius? You can order that on the website as well. Let's see. When working with dark and light wood, when the light wood gets stained by sanding, what do you clean the lighter wood? Well, all right, I clean it with more sanding, actually. That's exactly what I do. I mean, I wipe it down just with a dry cloth, but first to get rid as much as I can, but then I just resand the light wood. That's pretty much what I do. I don't try to clean it with anything. If someone else has a better idea than that, feel free to put it in the comments, but that's how I do it. I just resand the white again. What do I think about guitars with sound holes on the sides? Well, the truth of the matter is, I don't care for them too much. It's kind of cool the fact that it sends the sound out to you and you get to hear it better, but it has the opposite effect out in front, where typically when you're playing for other folks. You know, if you're only playing for yourself, get your sound hole on the side. You'll be happy. But me personally, I don't care for them very much. So it's just a personal opinion. Is rosewood easier to finish? Not a whole lot easier. It's probably slightly less porous than the Padauk, but it's got a lot of pores too. So it's tough to finish as well. By the way, I can't remember which instrument it was now. I just saw it the other day, and it may still be in here in the shop, but there's a Martin guitar that was in here that had the exact same problem I'm running into right here with this Padauk. I mean, it's just hard to fill the pores. And that Martin, it was a full-fledged Martin guitar, and you could see the little pits all over that Martin too. So I guess it's kind of good to know that even Martin has that issue. So yeah, I had to look close, don't get me wrong, to see them, but they were there. There was pits all over the thing. They weren't big pits, just little bitty pits, but you could still see them. So rosewood's not that much easier. It's maybe a little bit easier, but the reason I use the Padauk, honestly, is because it's available, number one. Number two, it's very, very, very resonant. I mean, it really puts out the sound. So I don't think you can do any better than Padauk. I mean, rosewood's very good too. I'm not knocking rosewood, but Padauk's really good. And it's got a pretty color, and it gets prettier with age. When it just really is pretty. It gets darker and even prettier, I think, with age. So it's a really nice wood. Let's see. I sawed antler the other day. It cost $100. You saw an antler that cost $100? I don't doubt that. There's a lot of the big antlers that people sell these days, and they're doing other things with them and making a lot of money with antler. Don't get me wrong. So I totally understand if you don't want to send me your antler, but if you can send me your antler, I can sure use it, because I can't afford to go out and pay those big bucks for antler and turn around and try to sell you an antler saddle for, a minimal price, because if I have to pay $100 to get the antler, I can't sell you an antler saddle out of it for $39, And, you got to remember that I'm paying Ron, for the most part. Ron now has his own shop, and he makes the antler saddles. He brings them here, and I buy them from him. I basically buy all he makes. That's the bottom line. So, it's just one of those deals where it has to make monetary sense for me, obviously, or it wouldn't make any sense to make the things or sell them. Anyway, yeah, I don't doubt you saw one for $100. Trying to buy antler is just out of the question almost. I can't wait for that Regal to arrive. Yeah, that's Ron May. That's the fellow that owned the Regal. Yeah, Ron, I hope you enjoy it. That was a challenge. It really was, and I think you're going to love the video on that Regal. It really was a challenge. But I think it turned out perfect, really. I mean, and it sounds great. It sounds really good. I don't have to apologize about the pets. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I know that everybody is really attached to their pets these days. And really, it's changed over the years. When I was a kid, pets were neat, and everybody loved their pet, but it isn't like it is today. Pets are like a kid these days. It's totally different, it seems like. And I know that offends people when I say you can't bring your pet, but I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And it is just simply the give an inch, take a mile. I know you specifically wouldn't be a problem, but that other person is, and that's just the way it is. And I, with the rose of luck, trust me, if I allowed it, it would be a problem. I'd be buying $8,000 worth of carpet just because I let a pet in there. Anyway. Have you CDB oil for your arthritis? Have I tried it? No, I have not tried that actually yet. I probably will try it eventually. But to be perfectly honest with you, I don't have any faith that that's going to work either. I know people swear by it, but people have swore by a billion other things that they've told me to try, and I've tried it and nothing has helped at all. So, I don't know. I'll probably try it eventually. Okay, the audio is not in sync with the video. Well, sorry. What about Engelman Spruce versus Sitka? The truth on the spruce thing, I got to be honest, is I don't think I'm an expert on the individual types of spruce, mostly because I've only used the Adirondack spruce when I build my instruments, and so I really only have experience with that one type of spruce. So I really can't comment much on that. Now that I say that, I have built them out of Sitka too, but honestly, maybe I just wasn't looking, but I didn't really notice any difference. So there you go, for what it's worth. Am I going to have any used Rosa mandolins for sale? I don't know. That's a possibility, I guess. Most of my ones that I own, and I don't own that many. I only own maybe 3 or 4 of my own mandolins. And that includes one I've already given to my son. Most likely they'll be handed down to my family. So, by the way, I shouldn't even say this because honestly I can't find the time, and that's the truth. But if I find the time, I am not exaggerating. I am going to build a mandolin to put all other mandolins to shame. And I don't say that because I'm going to build it better. I'm going to basically build it the same. But I'm going to make it beautiful, and I have a piece of wood that I have been holding back, and I have not shown it to anyone yet. Maybe if you beg really, 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 really hard, like with everybody clicking the like button, I might put it in the next Shop Talk and show you this piece of wood, because you won't believe it. I mean, it's like I've been holding it back for my own mandolin for some time way down the road whenever I had time to build it. And again, the hands are a huge issue, to be honest, but I'm still hoping to build 1 or 2 instruments for me. I'm going to try. I still got to finish this one, and we've got a guitar to finish building. I'm calling it my last hurrah guitar. Doesn't mean that'll be the last guitar I build. It's the last one I'm probably going to be building for sale. Anyway, that's just a side note. But I really do have a piece of wood for a mandolin that's just phenomenal. It just blows everything else away that I've ever seen. That's the truth. And I've seen a lot. I'm trying to read some questions here. Yeah, that humidity range that you're asking about, 43, 48% is fine. Basically, I just simply say, if you keep it in the place where you're comfortable, your instrument's going to be fairly comfortable. You don't really have to worry about it too much. If it's super, super, super dry, like in the outback of, Australia, or up there in the, North Pole where they're using wood heat constantly, maybe. You might need to humidify, but I honestly don't think you need to humidify very much at all in most places in the world. And there's so many factors that go into it that it's hard to just give you a black and white statement. And no matter what I say, there's always somebody pops up and says, yeah, but da 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 da. Okay, fine. I understand there's an exception, yes. But in general, people, especially when you get your instrument that was built in the area where you live, just keep it where you like to be, and you should just be fine. Trying to find some more here. I saw a bunch, and now I don't see them. I don't know if they scrolled up already, but I see one that I already did see, so that's kind of weird. Someone's talking about, I think on this electric guitar you're talking about that you have too much overbow, or you have a bit of overbow in your instrument. Well, if you do, the first thing I would say is that it was built that way. Second thing I would say is that would be a candidate for a two-way truss rod if that's the case. But really the way to address that probably would be to remove the fingerboard and reattach it by stressing the neck in the proper position and re-gluing it. That would probably be the best way to fix it. Yeah, putting heavier strings on it might help, but then you got to play heavier strings. So you do have a predicament there if that's the case. My rant is, please do not say everything is right-handed. If I did say everything is right-handed, I didn't mean to. I apologize. I try to accommodate left-handers. As a matter of fact, those mandolin saddles, I build those in left-handed as well. I have told many folks over the years that I would be happy to build them a left-handed guitar or a left-handed mandolin, even a left-handed F-style mandolin if they wanted one. And so far, I haven't had any actual takers on that. Although I was supposed to build a left-handed guitar for my nephew, and that hasn't materialized for a number of reasons, and I would say they are mostly family reasons. But anyway, what about cigar box git fiddles? Yeah, those are nice novelty things. I am not into the novelty style type instruments at all. I really am not. Some people just love that kind of stuff, and it's fine. If that's what your thing is, that's perfectly fine. I got no problem with it, I just not into it, and so I don't know much about that or anything. Dovetail versus bolt-on neck. Well, I don't really have anything against either one of those. Bolt-on is fine, really. I don't see any reason to hate a bolt-on. I build them more in the traditional dovetail style when I build them, just because I can, I guess. I don't know. It's not a big deal one way or the other to me. And I don't see a ton of advantages or disadvantages, because the only advantage the bolt-on has is that you can typically shim it to get the neck angle right. So it does have that one advantage. But if you build it right, you typically don't need to mess with the neck angle that much anyway. If I was to get on another rant, and we don't have time, we're about done here. If I was to get on another rant, it would be about the number of unnecessary neck adjustments that are made, and neck resets. I couldn't think of the word. There's a lot of folks that literally make their living by just doing neck resets. That's all they do. if you send your guitar to those folks, you're going to get a neck reset whether you want one or not, you know. And I honestly don't think most guitars need a neck reset. Like, for instance, that Regal wreck was a real good example. The customer's letter to me, and he's in the comments here, so I hope I don't offend him, but it said something about it was going to need a neck reset. Well, you know, when you just look at it on face value, he was right. It needed a neck reset. But the real problem wasn't that. The real problem was the top was just destroyed, basically, not to the extent it couldn't be fixed, but it was in really bad shape, and all the braces inside that guitar were loose. Once I fixed all that, flattened it all back out, put it back together, that it didn't need a neck reset at all. And I stand by that statement. There are way too many neck resets being done. There is often a way around it, and I usually can find that way around it. But then again, I've done a number of neck resets, and I'll do them when it needs it. But when it doesn't need it, there's usually another way around it. I'm going to get off of here. It's been an hour, and I do thank you so much for tuning in this morning. We had a little over 200 viewers, it looks like, and I wish you all the best. Go out and get your COVID shots if you haven't got them. Get that herd humidity. I started to say herd humidity. Oh, you know what I mean. Immunity. Herd immunity. I can't talk this morning. Thank you all very much. Y'all, please click the thumbs up and go back and click it if you can't do it right now. Thank you very much.